Hi, and welcome to this week's nugget. Kind of excited about this one. There's a brand new function that came out with Microsoft 365 or Office 365 called XLOOKUP. For those of you that have used VLOOKUP in the past, you might have realized there's some issues with it. Well, XLOOKUP is 10 times better. It takes care of some of those issues and it gives us more options. So let's get started. So here's a spreadsheet that we use in our Beyond the Basics class for Excel that deals with VLOOKUP. I'll just quickly do a VLOOKUP here to show you what the differences are. So we're going to take this mark, this 53.75, and we're going to come back with a grade like A or B or C or D minus or whatever. Where are we going to get that information from? We're going to get that information from this sheet down here called number one table. Let's go take a look at it. So remember, 5375. I'm going to go down there. This is how I would do it if I was doing it manually. I would go 53.75. Oh, I guess that's a D. Because even though it's closer, 53.75 to 55, they don't get a 55. It doesn't really round up. That's another whole topic, rounding. Although you'll see in a minute, XLOOKUP actually covers that, takes care of that. So what we would do here is we would say, oh, they got a D, right? 53.75. It's not 55, so it kind of goes backwards. So it will take this D and put it there. So here's how we would do that. We would click on it, zoom in a little bit, click on FX, and I've been using these a lot, so they're here, but you could go into all and find them if you wanted. So here's VLOOKUP. Click on it, and it asks for 4 things. The first 3 are optional. You can see they're kind of in bold. So the lookup value is, what am I looking up? I'm taking this mark and I'm looking it up. So I'm going to click on it because it's a table. It's average. Now table array is this guy over here. Now if you happen to know the name of your table, mine's table 13, then you can just type it in. If it wasn't a table, you would go to it and select it and click and drag it. Now the column index number is which column do we want to return. Remember the first one was the marks, like 0 and 50 and 55. And the second column was like F and D and D minus and stuff. So it would be the second column. I'm just going to cheat and look at this sheet here. This is what I was talking about. The first column is the marks. We don't want that. Second column is the grade. That's what we want. So when we do that, when we cheat like that, it kind of puts some little icky things up there. So I'm going to go back to number 1 here because it will, whatever I click on, it thinks it's part of the formula. So column index number is 2. Bring back that second thing. So the range lookup here has to do with if it found that exact number in our list, 53.75. Did it find it? No. Okay. Do you want it to complain or not complain and just go and find the closest one? Now, if we put true here, then it'll go off and find the closest one, and it always goes to the smaller number. So remember how it was 50 or 55? Even though it was closer to 55, we wanted it to go to 50. That's what it does, and we don't actually even have to type true in, because if we omit it, it just knows that it's true. If we want to find an exact match, then we'll type false. So that would be something like an employee number or a customer number or something where we don't want it to go off and find the closest one. So in other words, I'm good here. I'm just going to click OK. Because this is a table, it fills it all in. Excellent. So let's just try one out here. 75.25. Is that a C plus? 75.25 is a C plus. Wow, it's almost 76, but it's not. So with VLOOKUP, it wants to go back. It wants to go to the smaller one. Even though we could have went 75.9999999, it still would have went to 73. So that part is good about VLOOKUP. But what happens if we do some moving around? So here it doesn't really matter if we move things around on the sheet that has all the marks. But look what happens if we do something here where maybe we insert a column. Remember when it asked us what column number and we said 2 because mark is the first column and grade is the second column? Watch what happens here if we right click insert. Now grade is the third column. I'm going to go back here and look at what happens. Everything changes. It's like I can't find it in there. Everything's a 0. Icky. I would have to go back into my VLOOKUP, and if I change it to a 3, okay, then that will work. But what happens here then if I delete that column or I move them around some way? Then it's going to now be looking at column C, and now it's not giving me what I want. So VLOOKUP is pretty good except for that, right? Except for, gee, I can't really do anything with that. And also, one reason VLOOKUP is not that great is because it needs to look in the first column of the table for, in this case, the mark. So if I really, really wanted to move the mark on the other side of comment, is it going to work? That's even worse, gives me NAs. So we're really limited, aren't we? Really limited here on the layout of our table. So what we are going to do is get rid of that, and we're going to go back. It's kind of happy right now. I'm just going to select all of those grades and press delete, and I'm going to show you XLOOKUP. So it's the same kind of thing. We're going to take this 53.75 into table 13, and how we can find out our name of our table is to click in it and then click on table design. There it is on the left hand side, table 13. So we're going to go back and we're going to go to where we want it to go, the grade, and we're going to go grab XLOOKUP. Click OK. Now it asks for a few more things, but remember that they're not all mandatory. And we're going to see here which ones we really have to worry about. The first 3 for sure. So what is the lookup value? That's the same as the VLOOKUP. Take this 53.75. Now here's a difference. Where would you like to look? Do not type table 13. Nope. You're going to go to that sheet and you're going to select the cells. So where exactly do you want it to look? Oh, in the marks. Okay. So it doesn't care where that column is, if it's on the right or the left or whatnot. Okay. And then when it finds it, what do we want to return? So I'm going to go back to table 1 here. It does not want column number or anything. It wants the cells. Now, if this wasn't a table, it would say the name of the sheet and then B2 colon B13 or whatever. And then we'd have to make that absolute. But because I make everything into tables, this is going to be great. Now, if that's all I do, click OK, it's not happy because the default is it wants to find the exact match. So the not found, if we wanted something different besides those NAs, we could say grade not found or employee ID not found if it was we were looking for an employee ID or something. We don't need to worry about that because we don't care if it finds the exact one. But what we do need to care about is match mode. Now, I wish on here there was a quick way to see what our choices are. But what I did is I clicked help on this function, and these are the choices that come up. We can see here that 0 is the exact match, and that's the default. So if we don't put anything in, it really wants to find an exact match. Does that make sense? Because we had all those NAs. It's not going to find 53.75 in those list of marks. Remember, it was 0, 50, 55, and so on. What we do want is -1. That still looks for an exact match, but if the exact match is not found, it returns the next smaller item. So 53.75, it goes in and it finds 50, and then it finds 55. Oh, 55 is too big, so it goes to the smaller one. But look at this. We could put a 1, and it would actually go to the larger item if we wanted it to. So it almost does some automatic rounding for us. Isn't that neat? Well, in this case, we actually just want -1, and we can do some wildcard stuff as well. I'm not going to get into that here. So I'm going to go back to the spreadsheet, and I'm going to put in -1 for the match mode. And I love this screen because it tells us here right away if it's working or not. Now there is another one here. It talks about the search mode. So do I want it starting from the bottom or the top, or what do I want it to do? Don't need to worry about that one. The default is that it'll go from the top to the bottom. So I'm going to click OK here. I get them all. These probably are the same answers as our VLOOKUP did. And if we go to the table where it comes from, and we go to column B, and we go insert, it's now column 3, but does it care? No, it will follow the column called grade. So it's still looking for mark, and it's following grade. So it doesn't really matter where it is. Now what happens if we move mark? It's a little bit trickier if I move it. So I select it here, and if I just move it, notice where those little lines are going. There's a difference here between moving it here and moving it here. You see the difference there? This is going to put it as part of the table. This is not as smart. It's going to maybe put it outside the table, and it's not that great. So we want to always be dropping it when it has that vertical bar. So now mark is not on the left-hand side, and our formula is happy. XLOOKUP doesn't care. It just goes in and looks for mark. So again, we talk a lot in our courses about using tables. This is a great use of tables. And then of course, if there's anything that changes, there used to be one called H, if you can remember that. And this is the best. And let's say that 98. So if there was somebody in here that had a 98, 99, then they're going to get an H. And let's say this first person here, Amal, really tries hard to 99. Look at that, gets an H. So that is a little bit about tables, a little bit about XLOOKUP, and have fun with that. Thanks for watching.